Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, update show and more. Today's video will be discussing obviously Weghorst is in Manchester, a little bit about that transfer. Also, Fabrizio Romano spoke about the possibilities of another transfer being a right back, potential right backs United could be looking at. Will they be doing anything in January? But more so a report by James Ducker that's come out about new ownership maybe being screwed over and even Ten Hag being allowed very little signings even if we do get new owners in summer because of new UEFA changes, Manchester United owing a lot of money in debt and just more bad decisions by the Glazers where new ownership might not be the big change that we want right away and that effectively Ten Hag might not be able to get some of the signings he wants in summer. I will be doing a big rant about that because there's a lot more to it than I've just said. But I did want to start this video off on a positive note before I get into the news, before I get into a bit of a rant, before I get into the Man City game as well. Towards the end of this video, we'll talk about the Man City game, what we expect, what the lineup would be and all of that, who I would play, because Weghorst can be involved versus Man City. Hopefully Weghorst scores the winner versus Man City, because Vincent Kompany, who manages Burnley, gave us Weghorst, and I think if he scores the winner, it's a nice touch. But I think just like before I even get into the news, because I want to talk about what you can see on the screen, which is the Carabao Cup results. We beat Charlton 3-0. Newcastle beat Leicester 2-0. Forest beat Wolves on penalties. And Southampton, the best result of the day. Honestly, this made my day. Like I actually enjoyed this more than the win over Charlton. I didn't even watch this game. And it came to like the 60th minute, and I looked at the scoreline and I thought, I'm not even watching this game, but I just tell you now, I enjoyed this game more than the win over Charlton. Because Manchester City, the Carabao Cup experts, the Carabao Cup bum lickers, out of the Carabao Cup people, the only bald manager left in the Carabao Cup is Mr. Ten Hag. And Manchester United, if you look at the Carabao Cup here, it's Newcastle, Southampton, and do not rule out Southampton knocking out Newcastle. I think, did we play Southampton in the Carabao Cup final the last time we won it when Ibra scored? Was that Southampton? Someone fact check for that for me. But I feel like we actually played the last time we won the Carabao Cup final. We played Southampton. Because last FA Cup final was Chelsea, and then we beat Palace in the FA Cup final. I feel we had Southampton in the Carabao Cup. Might have been stupid, but anyway, we've got Southampton versus Newcastle and United versus Forest. The only thing I don't like about this is 2 legs, 2 extra games. That's the only thing I don't like about the Carabao Cup. Is when you're in the semi-final, you got 2 legs. That's the extra games, a week apart. Tuesday the 24th, Tuesday the 31st. They haven't actually decided the time. Really? Can you sort that out, please? But essentially, obviously not to disregard Forest or anything, but I'd assume we'd beat Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup, especially over 2 legs. I think in football, if it's a one-legged game, you never know knockout football what it can be like. But I think when knockout football's a 2-legged game, it's more that the better team does normally win. Like I think if it was 1 leg Forest away, I think maybe Forest could do something, but I'd still expect us to win. Over 2 legs, the second leg especially being at Old Trafford, and right now Old Trafford is a fortress. I don't think we've lost at Old Trafford since September, people. I actually expect United to be in the final versus even Newcastle, Southampton, and people will predict Newcastle, but actually I don't know if Newcastle or Southampton will go either way. And yeah, we beat Southampton in the final in 2017, so this would be our first trophy in 6 years, guys, as well. And 2 legs destroys competition, so I don't mind 2 legs in Europa League, but the Carabao Cup, no one wants 2 legs of that as well. But if we get to the final, brilliant. And I think it'll be Newcastle, Southampton. But I just think there's no excuse not to win a trophy now. Like, I've never normally given a fuck about the Carabao Cup. I don't think most people have. But when you haven't won a trophy in 6 years and Man City's out, you're competing with Forest, Southampton and Newcastle to win a trophy. And none of these teams have won a trophy in a while. So at the end of the day, this is a good Final Four because it's 4 teams haven't won a trophy in ages, which I think will be good anyway for football. It's boring when it's Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, you know what I mean? Then I think this will be absolutely fantastic. And I think we'll win the trophy. I will be very disappointed if we do not win the Carabao Cup. I think we've been given a free ride thanks to Southampton knocking out Man City. We've been given a really nice ride here to win our first trophy in 6 years, and for Ten Hag to get some silverware early into the season, something Ollie couldn't manage to achieve. And the thing is, it's the Carabao Cup, but people don't realise what a trophy does for mentality. A lot of these players have never won anything. A lot of these players have never played in a cup final. If you play in a cup final and you win a cup final, even if it's the Carabao Cup, it's that mentality we could maybe take into the Europa League Cup final. if we got to the Europa League Cup final, it's that mentality of sometimes teams can get to finals and sometimes teams can win finals. When Real Madrid won the Champions League, were they a better team than Liverpool? No. Did Liverpool on the verge of winning the quadruple, and Liverpool last season one of the best teams in the world? Yes. But Real Madrid had a team for the winners. They had the Casemiros, they had your trophy winners, and luckily we have our Casemiro and Varane. And I've got a really interesting article on Casemiro I want to get into about how Varane recommended Casemiro for his personality or something like that. But, for me, we should easily win this. I think Newcastle could be a challenge in the final, especially finals one game. You never know with knockout football. But with Casemiro in the team, I just think we'll win any game. If Casemiro stays fit, I'm convinced we just won't lose any games because I actually can't believe how good he is. I watched Casemiro's cameo versus Charlton again. The fucking assist, brilliant. The freaking pass to Garnacho, absolutely fantastic. And so United have got 2 games coming up in January. And I have to say, I do want to get into the news. I do want to do a big fat rant on Avi and Joel Glazer. But I just wanted to start this video by giving Ten Hag a bit of attention. Look at the games coming up. We've got 7 games in 21 days. We've got a game every 3 days. United should be getting another midfielder in January. We've literally got Saturday, City, Wednesday, Palace, Sunday, Arsenal, Tuesday, Forest, Sunday, Reading, Tuesday, Forest again, Sunday, Palace. That is potentially nothing there, luckily. There's a week break there, luckily. And then it's Europa League. Like, it's freaking hectic, guys. I mean, I'm excited for the Europa League. We're going to knock out Barca. I'm confident of it, as long as Casemiro plays, even though we haven't got Sandro. But we've got a lot of games coming up, and Manchester United need to get their shit together a little bit here. Weghorst should play in the derby and hopefully scores and endears himself. Yeah, I think he'll be a substitute that we might use later on as well. And we did beat Southampton the last time in the final as well. People were saying we're going to lose 3-0. Haaland hasn't scored in 3 games. Statistic on Haaland, which is rare for him as well. And you need mentality to win trophies if you want to be the best and the biggest for trophies, 100%. And Alex said, I think we'll win the Carabao Cup. We might have to think about which other competition to prioritise. We don't have the squad for the amount of matches, 100%. Maybe we go weak in the Reading game, give everyone a nice cheeky rest as well. And we will be getting summer signings. This thing is for everyone in the league. But yeah, we need to sort of scam out. I want to talk about the Glazers because there's reports basically saying that we might not be able to get some summer signings. And well, we will get summer signings, but Ten Hag wants a midfielder and an attacker. And they're basically saying, oh, he can either get one or the other. Basically saying Man United don't have the money, don't have whatever it is to get Ten Hag who we want. So I want to get into this James Ducker report, and I want to go into the Glazers because there's also a new UEFA rule change which would potentially prevent Manchester United from spending on the summer as well. So it was said here, Manchester United will have to qualify for the Champions League and raise significant money through player sales if Erik Ten Hag is to sign a midfielder and striker he wants in summer, even if the Glazers sell the club. He's saying even if the Glazers sell the club, we're financially in a situation where we cannot spend unless we get top 4 and player sales on top of top 4. Now, my first thought process is, well, if we need to get top 4 so badly, why aren't the Glazers putting a bit more effort to invest in January? Why did we let our first 2 targets go to rivals who are in a direct rival race with us for top 4? Oh, and then we go and sign Weghorst from Besiktas because he's the cheapest. Why don't we snap up João Felix if top 4 is so important? Because the money we get from being in the top 4 is a lot more, and it would cover the money we spend in January. But the Glazers don't think like that because they're actually shocking businessmen. And they're basically saying, even with new owners, we'd have to still raise a lot of money through sales and qualify for the Champions League. So that had me thinking, where is the money we can raise through sales? Now, this isn't even the bit of the story that's annoyed me. Just hang on for like 2 minutes because I want to get into the bit of the story that's actually really pissing me off about the Glazers in a second and what they've done. But who can we raise money through sales? So Dean Henderson, I reckon we could get 30 mil for him, but because we're United, 20 mil. Maguire, I reckon we can get about 25 mil for him. McTominay, I reckon we can get 25 mil for him. I generally think if we sold Maguire, McTominay, and Henderson, we could get 60 million for them. I think Donny, we could maybe get 15 mil for as well. Takes it to 75 million. Potentially, I think Donny could go. Lindelof could get maybe 20 million from. Wan-Bissaka could maybe get 15, 20 million from. I do think if we're smart, we could make 100 million in player sales if we're smart about it. I really do think we could, but we're not smart about it. I don't know if we have new owners with a smart ball where we do get money in player sales, but we're not normally smart about it. Now, it seems that Erik Ten Hag is not really going to have much of a budget. So that's Enzo Fernandez. That's Victor Osimhen. Like, they're going to be 100 million players. You know, I very much see it being someone like Maxim Kakare for 40 million. Maybe Harry Kane on for 60 million because he's got 1 year left on his contract and we negotiate with Levy out the whole window. Maybe Kim Min-jae because he's got a 40 million release clause. The way it's sounding, Ten Hag's not going to be getting the signings he wants in the summer unless we sell a lot, unless we get Champions League. It's basically being said that it's very unlikely that Ten Hag's going to get many signings in the summer because of the money we spent last year, because of the debtors in as well. And this was a bit of the report I want to get into. I want to dive more into the report. I want to dive more into the news. So let me also get this up here. I realised I haven't shared my screen with you. For some reason, I thought my screen was sharing with you. And I just realised it wasn't. So I do apologise for that because I'm on the complete wrong screen. So that was the screen I was showing you there. That was the report by James Ducker. But this is the other thing I want to show you. Oh, I don't care about whatever that is. It says Erik ten Hag wants to sign a top striker and another leading midfielder in the summer. But a change of ownership at Manchester United will make little difference to the summer transfer kitty if revenues are not significantly boosted by the return of the Champions League. James Ducker is saying, even though we're getting new owners, Erik ten Hag might not be able to get who he wants in summer because of just the finances of United. Essentially, the Glazers have fucked us up for so long. The Glazers have been fucking about this club for so long that United are actually in a financial hole where even rich-ass new owners will be paying out our debt, and we just bring them into a financial hole. That is the big problem going on at Manchester United, is they've mismanaged this club for so long. They've piled on their debt at this club for so long. I mean, too long, people, that we're generally in a situation where new owners, they're not going to be the best help in the world. It's not going to get easier with new owners. They're basically saying Ten Hag's still likely to maybe not get the summer signings he wants with new owners. And, you know, the Glazers don't care. The Glazers aren't going to sell us to someone that's going to make Man United great again. The Glazers are going to sell us to someone that's going to give them a load of money. And then the Glazers don't care what happens with United since. But because it's going to take a load of money to buy Manchester United, because Old Trafford Carrington needs to be rejuvenating and the squad, the feeling is because of the debt, we also owe 300 million in leverage fees on top of the 500 million debt. Because we're about $1 billion in debt, and UEFA are changing the rules for teams like Man United and Barcelona that are in debt to kind of stop the way they're acting. And, you know, we essentially, new owners of United, might be fucked because of just how the Glazers have mismanaged this club. And that makes my blood boil. That actually makes my blood boil, that this is going to cause us problems further down the line because of the Glazers. Like, they're just causing us more and more problems. Doesn't the debt lead with the Glazers? I don't think so. I'm not an expert on debt and all of that as well. And new owners will be able to get around FFP. United won't have debt. I'm not really sure as well. I'm hoping, now what I'm hoping about this story is I'm hoping this is a bullshit Man United leak story. What I'm hoping is that this story that new owners won't be able to spend much on with that, I'm almost hoping it's one of United's bullshit leak stories that they tell to the media to put out to lower our standards for the summer just in case they stay. I think, you know, if we get new owners, there's the expectation that they will spend. But if let's say we don't get new owners in time for the summer transfer window, would United release this story to then PR it? So then if we have the Glazers come summer and we don't spend a lot, they'll be saying, oh, but we've been telling you for ages, new owners wasn't going to mean we're going to spend a lot. La, like some kind of thing. Now, this is the thing. This is it. I want to get, this is the important bit of the article. Now, I am not an expert in finances, how things go down and all of that. So I'm just going to report on what I read and what I believe. But Erik ten Hag may have to choose between signing a striker or a midfielder when he desperately needs both at Manchester United in the summer, given the impact of UEFA's new financial stability rules and the 307 million the club still owes in transfer fee instalments. So UEFA's got some new rules that could potentially affect us because we owe 307 million to other clubs in instalments. You know, Anthony, Sancho, Varane, we're playing a lot of deals over 5-year instalments, which means we still owe 307 million on top of the over 500 million we have in debt, on top of the 1.5 billion that needs to be spent on Old Trafford. Manchester United's debts are getting to an absolutely insane level. And there might be a point where we might get actually penalised for this. I don't know if what happened to a side as big as United, but because of the lack of responsibility during the economic decisions Man United make, even when the Glazers aren't here, there's going to be people who take over from the Glazers picking up their mess they've made. In 17 years, I cannot believe this ownership made such a mess at this club. In 17 years, I still cannot fathom the mess they've made, because it doesn't matter when they're not here. The owners are going to still be picking up the pieces, people. That's embarrassing that whoever the new owners are, they're going to be picking up the pieces after this vermin, because they absolutely let this club hang out to dry. Absolute mess. I tell you that now. I trust Ten Hag to handle it. Wouldn't worry too much as Charlie. I mean, I'm positive that Ten Hag will make the most of what he has, and there's no one better we can have. But Ten Hag doesn't deserve this kind of treatment. Ten Hag has lost Ronaldo. We have absolutely no strikers. He's been begging and crying out for a striker, Eric Ten Hag, for ages. And he just gets the board, basically telling him he can get no one, while he watches the player he wanted more than anyone this window go to Liverpool, who's a direct rival, and he watches his second choice go to Chelsea, whereas he watches United make a deal for Besiktas player look ridiculously difficult. Eric Ten Hag deserves more. Now, I know he got a lot of money spent on him in the summer, but that would have been 60 million less spent on him in the summer if the board could do their job quickly and on time and efficiently. Ten Hag shouldn't be punished for the fact that we spent 60 million more than we should have because the board are not good and responsible in the transfer market. Why is Ten Hag being punished from that? Why aren't the Glazers going? We massively overspent in this summer. I realised that if we'd have stopped the pursuit of Frankie de Jong and focused on Anthony and got Martinez in a bit earlier, we'd have saved 50, 60 million pounds. Why didn't the board think, oh my God, if we hired some proper people to sort out transfers, we get things done quicker, we get players in quicker, we'd save money? Why doesn't, the Glazers think of that and sack the board? Why are the Glazers thinking we've given Ten Hag too much money? We're going to spend ridiculous money to more and more debt, so new owners are going to fuck us over as well. We had a story, and I don't know if you watched my video yesterday, but I was fuming. That story that there's people at United that actually don't think we should back Ten Hag in case we sack him. There are people at United who make decisions at this club, and this was a report that came up by The Athletic. I spoke about it in a video 2 days ago. There are people at Manchester United, at this club, who genuinely believe that backing Ten Hag's a risk in case we sack him down the line. You should be thinking about backing him so you don't have to sack him down the line. You shouldn't be thinking what we're going to do when we sack him down the line. Why back him? Because then we've got players suited to him. No, you want players suited to him because you want him to be here for 10 years. You want him to be a success. But this board, this club is absolute shambles. Absolute shambles. It's just run like an absolute circus. It's embarrassing. New owners would be crazy not to force the Glazers to pay off the debts as part of the sale. I mean, hopefully they would do that. But the Glazers, I think, are in such a powerful position where there's so many people that want United with such a big club of power that I think the Glazers will do anything to scrounge as much money as they can as well. The problem is big wages. We use too much money on wages if you compare it. That's why Ten Hag is introducing a wage cap as well. And the board have put a lot of transfers on installments. This was bound to come. Yeah, very good point as well. And new owners must make the Glazers pay off all debts before they buy the football club. I think they should, but it's easier said than done. You just do not know with these Glazers as well. Rahat says, get Joel out, of course, people. And I think Anthony and Sancho need to be coached the trap back as well. I mean, that's the last of my worries at the moment. And I think Anthony and Sancho will improve with more coaching. But let's get into the next part of the story because I'm going on and on and on and on and on. I don't want to ramble on too much, but I want to get into the important bits of this story because we've rambled a lot so far this live stream. Why am I getting stupid crypto or something come out? I don't know. A second successive season outside the Champions League would lead to a 30% cut, the equivalent of 22.5 million in Manchester United's 75 million a year deal with Adidas, although any such hit would be spread over the 2 remaining years of the deal. So James Duck has come out and said that basically if Man United don't get the Champions League, they lose 22.5 million a year from Adidas. So they would lose 44.5 million if we don't get the Champions League over 2 years. So what you're telling me is Gakpo would have been 37 million, but if we don't get top 4, we'll lose 44 million. Now, this is why I look at the board, I look at the ownership and all of that, and I go, you're going to lose money if we don't get top 4. Like, if you take this into account, the sponsorships, but then you also take the extra money you get finishing in the top 4, you lose like 100 million. Man United will be 100 million better off if we finish in the top 4, which is why I can never understand the fact that we're not looking to sign anyone of any money in January when, like, realistically, business-wise, we will generate more money if we do spend. That's why it fathoms my mind. I'm thinking, well, it's going to generate, like 100 million more for being in the top 4. Why aren't we thinking about getting Gakpo and getting a midfielder in and backing Ten Hag to make sure he gets top 4 because he could really do this despite no one thinking he could do this at the start of the season? Because actually you would be spending money, but then you would generate more money, so you'd be saving money. But no, Again, our incompetent owners, I feel like, just don't think like that. They just do not think like that. And again, massively winds me up. And I want to finish up this story before I get to the next bit of news with what James Ducker said. And it said that Ten Hag will have to choose between a midfielder and striker because of obviously changes and stuff. But this is the main story, that new ownership at United might not help us, people. New owner, I don't know why I keep getting weird crypto ads, but a change of ownership will make little difference to United's summer transfer budgets if revenues are not boosted. So we need to sell players to boost revenue, and I just think it's absolutely embarrassing as well. People saying bring Kane in. I mean, Kane will be a difficult deal to do. You know what Spurs are like with business. You know what Levy's like, but I don't think Kane would be a bad signing as well. And honestly, I do think with this story, it's not the be all and end all. I think there's a chance we get new owners and they can spend loads of money and stuff. And there's a chance that United could be putting this in as a PR warning just in case the Glazers have to stay or something. But basically, the main taking from the story is that the Glazers have basically been effing around with the Manchester United finances so much. They've run this club so badly. They've run this club to the ground that even if someone takes over Manchester United, they could potentially be in financial troubles because of this pure state and just how badly the Glazers have run Manchester United. It's embarrassing, people. It's absolutely embarrassing how shambolic this club is run. And the board just have multiple problems. I want to show you something, actually, that came up from Laurie Whitwell, because this is a thing. This is the problem. Because people know we employ idiots on the board, we get mugged off. And this was said by Whitwell. He said last summer, John Murtagh was talking to a club about a young player, knowing the quoted price was 15 million, but when Man United came in, they were told the price was 28 million. This is another example of Manchester United tax. The same with Cody Gakpo, who could have left for Leeds for 25 million in the summer, but Man United were told to pay 33 million for Cody Gakpo in the summer, which has obviously risen since. You know, this is again a prime example of people know that United is stupid. People know that Manchester United are idiots when it comes to transfers, when it comes to working out transfers, when it comes to dealing with transfers and all of that. People know we're absolute imbeciles in the world of transfers. So they see it and they go, you know what? We're going to make Man United pay double, which we make anyone else for, because Man United are desperate and they're the people that do it. Now, we don't know who this player is. It could be Malacia, it could be someone else. But this is, again, an example of where you look at a player that's cheap and then Man United come in and they go, no, let's put the price up, because they know that this board is incompetent and they will overpay. And I like Anthony, but we massively overpay for Anthony. And teams will look at that and go, you know, they will overpay, even though we're broke. And another stupid decision the board might make, and this is going to annoy me if this happens. This is going to really annoy me if this happens. But this would be a really silly decision from the board as well. But Botafogo have made an offer to Manchester United to sign Facundo Pellistri on loan, which will include an option to buy for a fixed fee, but they also want United to pay part of his salary during the loan. If Manchester United do this, they are idiots. One, Pellistri could go to a much better club on loan. Two, I think we should keep Pellistri till the end of the season because we've got literally no options in attack. And three, you know, why would we send them on loan, pay half his wages, and then give you a fixed fee where you could get them on a bargain price? If United do this, they are more idiotic than I think in the transfer window. I said this in my video yesterday. United should not even be looking or considering selling Pellistri. I think maybe a low move, because you could take into account Sancho coming back and Weghorst coming in. It's going to be a lot harder for Pellistri. But when I watched the game, I think Anthony Elanga's the one that needs the loan. And I think Facundo Pellistri is the guy that deserves more game time. I thought Facundo Pellistri was absolutely impressive, people. Really, really impressive. So impressed with him as well. Makes sense now why we didn't go after Thuram. What do you mean it makes sense why we didn't have to go after Thuram? If something happened with Thuram? I always thought Thuram was a good player, to be fair, who scored quite a few goals this season as well. But Chelsea, I think, might get Thuram because they're looking to get rid of Aubameyang. Chelsea, I say this now about Chelsea. Look, Todd Boehly's a madman. Todd Boehly might have a lot of money, but I don't think Todd Boehly has more than 3 brain cells. I think Todd Boehly thinks he's on Football Manager or FIFA. He's just like, I'm going to bring in loads of attackers and then I'll sell this player and sell that player and bring in a load of attackers and hope it works. What is Todd Boehly's plan? What is he planning to do? Because I generally think he just sits on Twitter and sees who United and Arsenal want to buy and just goes, you know what, United and Arsenal want to buy this player, so they might be good. I don't think Todd Boehly really has like a transfer plan or any of that. I think he's an absolute madman as well. But I think Thuram's a decent player as well. Amazon buy United, put sponsors on kit and say sponsors worth 400 million a year. That's something Man City would do to make up there so they don't get done for doing FFP. Victor Osimhen. Now, Victor Osimhen is a Manchester United target for the summer, but I do not think it will happen unless we get really rich new owners that are actually allowed to spend as well. And it would make more sense for Glazers to spend money to buy players to get top four, which would give them more money. Exactly. People saying hell no to a 30-year-old Kane, but he could be available on a cut price. He could be Casemiro-like signing as well. And let's get a fantastic 3-3 draw or maybe win, and maybe Glazers time to sell. I hope the Glazers sell, people. And I hope they sell soon. And I hope they sell to owners that are going to take this club to the top, because the new owners are going to have problems when they buy Manchester United as well, because of Glazer incompetence in the past, because of how they've neglected this club in the past as well. If it's Middle East buyers, we want to get around it, just like City, PSG, and even Newcastle starting to do with shady sponsorships as well. Yeah, we do want to get around that kind of stuff as well. And when the Glazers are gone, it will feel like we've won the Champions League 100%. They need to hurry up and go. I do have a video coming out tomorrow on everything you need to know regarding the takeover. Is it Dubai? What's going on with the Middle East? What's going on with America? I do have a video going out tomorrow on that as well. And we need to replace Donny. We counted on him this season. I have to say, I think Donny is out to the end of the season, it seems as well. And blame Woodward. He's the one who said we can do things in the transfer market other clubs can only dream of, and those things are probably bad things. We're the only team in the transfer market that can be in for a player and fly out to Barcelona to sign a player and still not come back with that player. Man United are the only team that will go to Turin to get Rabiot and Barcelona to get De Jong, but not end up with any of them. And although we ended up with Casemiro and the best thing happened in the end, it's still like, do you get what I mean? Like, I'm happy we didn't get them and I'm happy we got Casemiro now. But you look back at that moment and you go, we flew out to 2 countries to sign 2 midfielders that we didn't get. Whether I think we should have got those midfielders or not, it's still embarrassing that they were literally... John Mercer sat down with some fans in the pub and told them we were going for De Jong, went to Barcelona to sort out De Jong. United were telling all their journalists they're going to get De Jong, this is done, that is done. United were briefing all their journalists they were going to get De Jong. So we were getting clickbaited by the media, being told we're going to get De Jong. Mercer and Arnold are convinced of it. Where the fuck is De Jong? He's in Barca bloody Lona. He never even happened. You know, United are the one club that can do things with their transfer window no other clubs can do, because United can make themselves look like the biggest idiots in the world when they want to as well. The problem is there's seemingly 3 owners looking to buy United, stalling the process. Glazers will milk this and try and get as much as they can. And Sack makes a good point here. This is a really good point from Sack. I think the big problem going on with Manchester United and the Manchester United takeover is, if there was one clear person looking to buy United, let's say it was Dubai. If Dubai were like the one clear club looking to buy Manchester United with a solid interest in buying Manchester United, the Glazers would be like, all right, there's no one else. There's no one to really bid it with. Dubai have given us, I don't know, 6 billion. That's enough. Boom. Because we know there's 3-4 Middle Eastern teams interested in United, Dubai could go to United and offer them 6 billion, which is absolutely crazy, which is an absolutely outrageous amount. And, you know, they don't deserve that much. No way in hell did the Glazers deserve that much. But United could go to the Glazers and go, boom, here's your 3-4, billion, 5 billion, this is what Dubai could go to Glazers. And the Glazers will sit there and go, no, because they'll see that Bahrain are interested, they'll see the Qatar is interested, they'll see the Saudi Arabia is interested. And the Glazers will sit there and they'll try and milk out 9 million. Like, we don't really know what's going on at the moment because not much can be revealed because obviously non-disclosure agreements and all this financial stuff going on. But essentially, I wouldn't be the slightest bit shocked if the Glazers are just sitting there and they're just trying to milk it out for 9-10 billion. I generally think there's probably offers, and the Glazers are like, should we wait and see if we can get more? Should we wait so we can get more? Because I think all the Glazers care about when it comes to Manchester United is trying to milk as much money as possible out of the club. And that's all they care about, milking as much money as they can, for the club. They took as much money as they can out of the club. It's just, how much money can we get for the club? How much money can we milk for the club? Who's going to give us the most money? That is purely the only thing the Glazers are thinking about, is who's going to give us the most money? What's going to make us feel rich? It's not who's going to be the best owner. It's not, shall we get this sorted quickly so United can get on with next season? They'll just sit there and they'll just be waiting for people to give them offer after offer after offer as well. Manchester United players, I'm keeping a Pelestri and Garnacho. 2 players we don't want to get rid of, and 2 players United need to hurry up and sort out as well. I have to say, I also think letting Sedan Iqbal go in January is not a smart move by United. I hope we can keep on to Sedan Iqbal. 105 likes, guys. Let's push for 200 likes. So please do smash that like button as well. They already effed up with Garner. Don't make the same mistake with Palestri. I know. And we didn't give Garner a good move. We effed up with Garner. It's not even like we gave Garner a good move. I have to say that as well. Man United are absolute twits. I have to say this. James Garner, we let him go to Everton, which is just an unsmart move. We should have let James Garner go out on loan to Forest or something like that. I don't understand United. We're going to get Sedan Iqbal go. We'll let James Garner go. We'll let Palestri go. But then we'll be giving out new contracts to the likes of Phil Jones. United just don't think. I have to say, United's management of contracts has been awful. And that's one thing I like about Ten Hag, is he's really clamping down and being strict on contracts and who we buy and sell. Ten Hag said the one condition of him buying Manchester United is if not buying United. Ten Hag's one condition of being United owner was he wanted the final say on who we buy and sell. He didn't want United to buy and sell anyone or give out any new contracts without his permission. So Ten Hag went to the board, okay, I will only take the Manchester United job if I can buy and sell who I want, and I can choose who gets new contracts. That's what Ten Hag said to the board. And the board said, fine, we will obviously pick up players to buy and sell, but we won't do anything if you don't give approval. So obviously with new contracts as well, the board will say, okay, let's go and give Fred a new contract. Let's go and give De Gea a new contract. And Ten Hag slowed it down. Because I tell you this now, if Ten Hag was not here, all of those 6 players with contracts expiring would have had a new contract in October with a higher wage that they didn't deserve. All of those players at United would have had a new contract with a higher wage they didn't deserve if Ten Hag wasn't here, because that's what the board would have done. The board wouldn't have thought. Ten Hag has not let any new contracts be given out. None. Only 1-year extensions, and he's working on Rashford and Delow's contract. They're working on a contract for Rashford and Delow, and he's working on a contract for De Gea where De Gea's wages will half. Okay? He's given out a 1-year extension to everyone else. He believes right now, after 6 months, that Rashford and Delow have done enough to deserve a new contract. And he also believes that De Gea can have a new contract if he's willing to take a wage cut, which is brilliant because United will be giving out new contracts to all the players and giving them crazy wages. He's given Fred a 1-year extension. He's given Luke Shaw a 1-year extension, who both looked very good in recent games. But Ten Hag's going to wait until the end of the season or next year to really make his mind up on, do I want to keep Luke Shaw? Do I want to keep Fred? Ten Hag's not extending Phil Jones's contracts. To tell you what, I wouldn't even trust. I have such little faith in the Manchester United board that I generally believe Murta, if Ten Hag wasn't here, would extend Phil Jones's contract. I wouldn't generally be shocked with this board if for some reason they'd extended Phil Jones's contract again. I generally wouldn't. Nothing with this board actually would shock me. The one thing I love about Ten Hag is he said specifically to the board, you're not giving Rashford a new contract in October. Because although Rashford was looking good and better in October, Ten Hag said to the board, I'm not letting you give Rashford a new contract in October. We're a month and a half into the season. I'm not letting you give Delow a new contract in October. Ten Hag said to the board, nothing is happening until after the World Cup. We will extend the contracts so none of them can leave for free, and we'll make our decisions over who's here for the next year and who's here for the long term. And that's what Ten Hag has done. He's ending this silly contract giving out thing at United, which I think is something we've needed to do for a while. Ten Hag's kind of over this. We need to stop giving out silly contracts. We need to stop making silly decisions. And Ten Hag is on his way to ending silly FC. I'm calling Man United silly FC, silly contract FC, silly decision FC. Ten Hag's made it very clear we're not making silly decisions anymore. Guys, please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. I want to get into some more stories as well. I want to get into some things that Ten Hag said. I want to get into some transfer news and some other stories as well. We've got news on Jude Bellingham, Victor Osimhen, Harry Kane, De Jong. We've got basically news on all the players Ten Hag wants to sign in the summer. So do smash that like button, and I want to get into a few more stories before I ramble on too much about how I can't stand the Glazers and all of that. I don't want to ramble on too much, but anyone who spends 6 billion will know already what is going to take to sort out the rest. Middle Eastern owners would easily have the money to sort this out. I believe, going back to the ownership and Man United being a mess and all of that, I believe Middle Eastern owners would be good owners of Manchester United. I believe they know how to run a football club because I've looked at them run other football clubs, and they've been, by stereotype, they've ran Man City, Newcastle and PSG well so far. I trust new owners will run this football club well and know how to run a football club, and I have no issues with the new owners coming in. The problem is, and what is being said in the media is, because of the United situations, because of their dealings, because of the debt, because of the pure amount of money that Manchester United owe, new owners coming to United might struggle financially the first year because they have to sort a few things out, and Ten Hag could get a thin transfer window. It was said Ten Hag wants to sign a top striker with the likes of Harry Kane, Benjamin Sesko, Victor Osimhen on the club's radar, along with another midfielder such as De Jong or Bellingham. We know this is what Ten Hag wants. Ten Hag wants an expensive midfielder and an expensive attacker. And they're saying new owners, even if they're rich, won't be able to do that because of the financial situation the Glazers will leave the club in, which is worrying if the Glazers actually screw us over like that as well. Neglection is a summary of how Man United has been. Yeah, 100% the club's been neglected as well. And we need to replace Donny to Rabiot loan. The thing is, I think with Donny being out potentially for the rest of the season, I do think United should see if they can get a cheap loan, like a Weghorst type deal for a midfielder. I do think it'd be really smart for United to try and do a Weghorst type deal for a midfielder. But one thing about United and one thing we've always known about United is United aren't smart. United don't make smart decisions. So although I wish this is something United would do, I don't think United will do it as well. I do want to get into what our best team for the Manchester City game could be in just a second as well. And Scott looking shocking of late, which is worrying some considering our lack of depth, especially. This is why I don't even want like Sedan Iqbal should be allowed to go out on loan. And Sedan Iqbal, we should be saying Sedan Iqbal needs to go out on loan. But the reason I don't want Sedan Iqbal to go out on loan is even though he can't play DM is because Donny is out pretty much for the rest of the season and McTominay is looking shocking. We've basically got Eriksen, Casemiro, Fred, 3 midfielders to cover a game every 3 days to the rest of the season, basically. And Eriksen can't do that. Casemiro could get injured. We're also relying on Bruno to be the only person that plays in this position as well. You know, we are too reliant on Bruno. We're too reliant on Casemiro. Like, our midfield is very good. You know, Fred's coming off the bench and being well, and our main midfield three of Eriksen, Bruno, Casemiro is doing an absolutely fantastic job. There's no doubt in that. Absolutely fantastic. But the problem is, one injury, a bit of rotation, and it drops off massively. McTominay struggling against a League One Charlton. The drop-off from Casemiro to McTominay is very notable. Very, very notable. And I do see it and go, right, should we do a Weghorst type deal in midfield? I know we haven't got much money, but we saved a lot of money with the Ronaldo's money being saved. Is there any midfielder out there that we can just bring in for pure sense of depth? Because, you know, right now, we need something else. I don't know if I can really rely on McTominay and the rest of our team to stay fit. Like, McTominay to play well and the rest of our team to stay fit. Because Alex is right, McTominay looks so average versus Charlton. McTominay is, 25, 26? He's had so many chances at Manchester United, and I hate to say this because I've always liked McTominay in the sense of his character, his personality. I think McTominay has a very good character, very good personality. But one thing I'll say about McTominay is he's had his fair share of minutes. He's played too much over the last few seasons. This was his final straw. This was Scott McTominay's final straw this season. We've had multiple seasons this season, not good enough, but we knew he was going to stay under 10 because of lack of depth. And this was his season. This was McTominay's season to make a point, to make a stand still under Ten Hag. And you see him struggling against League One sides. For me, give him to Newcastle for 25 mil. Give him to Newcastle for 25 mil. Let Newcastle, I don't care if they're direct rivals or whatever, let Newcastle go give us 25 million for McTominay in January and go out and buy a replacement. But go out and buy a replacement and then loan a second replacement because I do think we need 2 midfielders. But the one thing I am worried about is, okay, we've got Weghorst in to solve the attack. But that midfield is thin, and that midfield isn't particularly good either. It's too reliant on, you know, Bruno, Eriksen, Casemiro. If they get injured and it's McFred, and United are potentially in trouble. Isco on a free, I don't think it's the kind of deal we need to be doing. I'm also not a big rater of Isco. I don't personally rate Isco that highly as well. The sale doesn't seem close. If there was a new owner looming, surely they'd be negotiating something to spend a bit this window. Potentially. I've got a video coming out tomorrow to talk about the sale, but there's very much conflicting reports. You know, some reports are saying the sale's close. Some reports are saying that the Glazers are just there faffing about, doing what the Glazers will probably do as well. I spread a rumour that my unborn child is linked with Madrid, waiting for a Chelsea contract. Honestly, I feel like Chelsea are going in for everything, and the process takes a long time. It won't happen. Thanks for the super chat. Very true comment there as well. And McTominay hides, can't read the game, can't pass. This is what frustrates me about McTominay. Is there's times where I watch De Gea have the ball, Varane have the ball, one of the defenders have the ball, and the midfielder needs to move, but to come and get the ball. McTominay needs to be available to come and receive the ball. And there I see little old Scott McTominay hiding behind the opposition against League One Charlton. Sancho has the ball, Maguire has the ball, De Gea has the ball. Where's Scott McTominay making himself available in midfield? He's not. He's there hiding. He's a little hider, Scott McTominay, as well. And if you play for Manchester United, you cannot, no way in hell, be hiding behind people at this club. You can't be a little old hider. And this is not Manchester United. And if you're hiding behind League One people, that's worrying. Somebody said buy Tielemans. I think he's a bit overrated, though, but probably would improve us. And Ten Hag, if I was ownership, I would give him at least 260 million to make transfers happen. Yeah, I reckon if we're smart, we could make 100 million in sales easy. I generally believe we could make 100 million in sales if we're smart through Maguire, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Dean Henderson, potentially Donny van der Beek as well. McTominay to Newcastle in exchange for Ramirez, still of the century. Bruno Ramirez would be brilliant for United. That would be absolute steal of the century. Like the things I would do for Bruno Ramirez at Manchester United. Wow. I mean, for me, he's a fantastic player, but definitely give McTominay to Newcastle if we can. But obviously, I wouldn't sell McTominay in January. And even though he's been crap, I wouldn't sell McTominay in January because we have no depth in midfield. Like, we generally have no depth in midfield to the point that it is a little bit worrying. Like, we need someone to come into the midfield and sort it out. There's no depth there whatsoever, and that, for me, is worrying. Scott is like Maguire. He looked better in that negative system and still doesn't look great either. 100%. I think Scott McTominay could be a Premier League player. He's a workhorse, but he reminds me of Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher went to Crystal Palace, and he was very good at Crystal Palace. Really, really good at Crystal Palace. At Chelsea, Conor Gallagher gives off those McTominay vibes because you've got to play a completely different way, a completely different style. And I don't think he's suited to being the team that want to be on the front foot. I think Conor Gallagher, I think Scott McTominay, they'll be good at teams like Palace, but I don't think they'll be good at teams that want to, be top of the league. I've always said that. I just don't think McTominay is that good. I don't think he's been good enough. There's never been a point really where I've watched McTominay and thought he was good enough. There was points in the counter-attacking days under Ollie where he could do a job, and he scored the odd goal, and I thought maybe it's a box-to-box, he could be good enough. But I've seen McTominay play so many times, and honestly, I've seen him play so many times that I've not sat there and gone, he's good enough. He has the odd good game, but he's just not consistent enough as well. Just not consistent enough. João Felix is making his debut for Chelsea today, people. It's Kepa and goal, Azpilicueta, Chalobah, Silva, Koulibaly, Hall, Kovacic, Mount Zakaria, Havertz and Felix front two for Chelsea today, which I think is a very interesting lineup as well. And I don't believe Newcastle are serious about Scott. Longstaff is shockingly bad, but they're not desperate. I mean, I would take McTominay over Longstaff personally myself. They've got Bruno Ramirez, they've got some good midfielders, and I think McTominay's a workhorse. And I think maybe they just want a workhorse. I don't think he's a talented player, but he's a workhorse. The Glazers will sell to some Americans. The Glazers will sell to whoever gives them the most money, whether it's an American company, whether it's, I don't know, an Arab company. The Glazers, for me, I don't think they care who they sell to. The Glazers are either going to sell to someone that's going to give them power still, or someone that's going to give them the most money. The Glazers will sell to whoever's going to benefit them the most financially. That is the only factor in the Glazers sale. It's about what would benefit the Glazers financially. That is the detrimental figure in the sale of Manchester United. The finances of the Glazers. The Glazers are stupid. They'll probably sell for 2 billion. How they do business, I would be surprised. They are going to hold out for 7-8 billion because they're greedy. United would really need Frankie de Jong this summer, but also get a young and promising striker with a load of talent as well. 100%. I mean, look, I don't know if we'll get Frankie de Jong. It seems more and more like he might stay at Barcelona now for good. It seems that Barcelona are kind of over trying to get rid of him. I think they've realised he's stubborn and wants to stay and he wants his money. Like, I don't know if United will end up getting Frankie de Jong. What we do need is a Frankie de Jong, Enzo Fernandez type midfielder. Like, Bellingham would be good, but I think Frankie de Jong would fit more in Ten Hag's way and what we're crying out for. And on top of that, we need a good young striker, whether it be Benjamin Sesko, whether it be Dusan Vlahovic, whether we even go for someone like Mukayoko. I don't think he's ready quite yet, but we'd have to go for him and someone else. Maybe we get Harry Kane on a cheap 1 year left, 30 years of age, 50 million, snap up Harry Kane. He'll be like a Casemiro 2.0, where we'll have Harry Kane performing world class for 2 years. And then you've got Mukayoko that we maybe get from Dortmund coming through. Like, that sort of things that Manchester United should potentially consider doing as well. I do think, 100% we need a Frankie de Jong type player, and I think we need a striker, and Ten Hag knows that. And the worrying thing is, what if the Glazers are here in the summer? Because if the Glazers are here in the summer, you're thinking 60 million net spend. You're thinking no one comes in. I think if the Glazers are here in the summer, we probably get a shit Wan-Bissaka replacement, a long-term striker, and a crappy midfielder last minute because the fans are getting frustrated. Like, I generally think that would happen in the summer. if the Glazers are still here. Yash says we need Timber. I wouldn't mind Timber because he can cover right back and centre back. But I don't think Timber's been particularly impressive at Ajax this season. And Scott has always been overrated, typically one good match per month if he's lucky. The thing about Scott McTominay, he'd have like 12 stinkers in a row, and then he'd have one game where it was a 10 out of 10, and he would live off that with certain fans that like that kind of player. Now, I like Scott McTominay's personality. I like that he's from the academy and all of that, but he's not consistent enough. He's not good enough as well. Nick says, unfortunately, we have to make do with this squad until summer as Ten Hag needs his depth and is not getting money to buy anyone yet. Unless Wan-Bissaka goes, that's no more business for United, we're being told as well. Alwa on loan would be fantasy. I don't think he's that good actually lately. I liked him in the past, but I think he's been a bit disappointing as well. And Alice, do you think United will go for a centre-back? I do think one of Maguire or Lindelof will leave in summer. There's offers for them, and I do think we'll go for a centre-back replacement. I do think we'll sign a centre-back. And Glazers are used to having deals just happen, and that's why they lack the art of the deal. I think the Glazers, I don't know what the Glazers are doing, but the Rain Group is overseeing the sale of Manchester United, and the Rain Group is confident that the full sale of Manchester United will happen by the end of March 2023. Now, I hope the Rain Group are absolutely spot on with their confidence that the full sale is going to happen by March of 2023, because I honestly don't think I can deal with more of the Glazers. Like, Glazeronomics is killing me. Glazeronomics is absolutely killing me. Let's get the United squad up. This is the squad that, you know, Ten Hag's got to deal with for the rest of the season. And this is a decent squad with some decent players. But what's not decent is the lack of depth. You know, Anthony Elanga shouldn't be getting anywhere near the Manchester United first team, but he has to because of a lack of depth. You know, this is the problem. And this is what Glazeronomics has got us, because there is money to spend in January. Well, it's not lots of money, but we don't have the level of money Chelsea have. There is a bit of money at United, but we seem very reluctant to spend it. And because of the bad treatment of United and stuff as well, we're going to put it in a difficult position for potentially new owners to come in. How was Felix playing already for Chelsea? What was the deadline to be registered? They registered him just in time. Chelsea are a serious club. Like, United will take like a week to register a player. Like, generally, I think Weghorst should be registered by the Manchester Derby. But to tell you what, if this was Man United, Felix wouldn't be playing for the next 3 games because we'd be trying to get him registered in a work visa and all of that. Like, Chelsea just seem to get players done, swoop them over, register them, bish, bash, bosh. Chelsea have got that deal done. Manchester United seem to make everything complication FC. Let's make everything as hard as we can. Man United seem to complicate everything, and it winds me up. Absolutely winds me up. Why are we complicating every deal? How can Chelsea register a player and sign them within about 48 hours, and Man United can't sign anyone? Like, I sometimes sit there and go, you know, Liverpool got Gakpo done and in Liverpool and done the medical in 48 hours. Chelsea got Felix done and done the medical within 48 hours. And Manchester United on Weghorst spent about like 4 days complicating it. And, you know, when they're dealing with Besiktas. Sometimes I sit down and I think it's embarrassing, the lack of idiocy we have. I pray that the Qatar Sports Group don't buy a stake in United. 100%. We want a full sale as well. Smash that like button if you hate Glazeronomics people as well. Smash that like button, and thank you for the super chat. If Newcastle get top 4, Kane will go there. Potentially. I do think Newcastle and United could drop out of the top 4, and I think Liverpool could make the top 4. I think Arsenal and Man City guaranteed top 4, and I think Liverpool look more like to get top 4 than Tottenham and Chelsea at the moment, but Chelsea have been spending quite a bit. I think one of United or Newcastle will drop out the top 4. I do think Liverpool, they just always find a way, even when they had a crap season a few years ago. I feel, unfortunately, Liverpool will finish in the top 4. Mukayoko free in the summer, snap him up 100%. My thought process is Frankie de Jong, Enzo Fernandez, any kind of those midfielders that Ten Hag wants. Mukayoko on a free. Then you see if we can get Vlahovic, see if we can get Osimhen, potentially Kane, Ivan Toney, get a striker. We want a young striker like Mukayoko. We want a striker. We want a midfielder, and we want someone to come in defence, potentially centre-back or right-back, depending on who leaves, potentially a goalkeeper. And then the following summer, we think about how we replace Casemiro, where were the weak spots the next year as well. Nick said, I will keep Wan-Bissaka until summer now. He seems to be firing on all cylinders, looking good again. Me too. I think it's a risk mid-season to sell Wan-Bissaka and bring someone new in case that someone new isn't particularly good. I think Wan-Bissaka's looking all right at the moment. He's looked very consistent, very solid when he's played under Erik ten Hag recently. Romano said it's basically Wan-Bissaka goes and we make another signing in January through the money we get for Wan-Bissaka, or United do nothing in January. And I'm at the point where I'm happy for Wan-Bissaka to stay unless the replacement for Wan-Bissaka was clearly a solid replacement that I was confident would fit in right away and do a good job at United right away as well. We are interested in the Celtic right back, but I'd just rather keep Wan-Bissaka to the end of the season and then focus on a right back. I think that would be the smart thing to do as well. And I also I want to get into this interesting report actually about Frankie de Jong, about Casemiro, about why United kind of made that change to go from Frankie de Jong to Casemiro, and a big part of it was just to do with the Brighton and Brentford loss and how bad we were. And I can't find the report I want to go up, which is annoying. But it was about how United were interested in one player and then interested in another. And then basically, after we lost to Brighton and Brentford, the report came out that they spoke to Varane, and Varane said that Casemiro had the kind of mentality we need. And Varane is one of the reasons we got Casemiro, which, definitely helps us as well. I do have to say, I'm sure you're aware of this, but Wout Weghorst did sign for Manchester United. Wout Weghorst is in Manchester. I'm going to see if there's any pictures that have come out yet. I don't think any pictures have been released of Wout Weghorst in Manchester, but we do know for sure he has arrived in Manchester, but there has been no pictures. I'm going to see if we got any pictures of him in Manchester, which would be nice. Photos, any photos that come out of him in Manchester, I doubt it as well. But Romano did say on Wout Weghorst, Manchester United, Besiktas and Burnley have signed all the documents. The deal was done. A medical test will take place within 24 hours after the agreement on Tuesday. Official statement will follow after formalities. United will pay $3 million. The Weghorst deal is bish bash bosh, dumb people. But I know that I'm just trying to see, because we know he's landed. So yeah, Weghorst has landed in Manchester. That's the news coming in as well. But I'm trying to. There's no pictures of him been released yet, but I'm sure he's on his way to Carrington over for the medical and all of that as well. United recruitment is so pathetic. They'll loan back Mata next. Yeah, I'm surprised. United haven't made a move for Mata. Nothing surprises me with United now. You know how we were linked to Gakpo, we were linked to Felix, we were leading the race, we're so comfortable. All the clickbait journalists were going to tell us we're going to get Gakpo and Felix and this and that. And you know how United looks so comfortable in the race for Felix, United looks so comfortable in the race for Gakpo, this and that. And then we get Weghorst. You know what? That doesn't surprise me. Nothing at Manchester United will surprise me. The fact that we've ended up with Weghorst does not surprise me. I tweeted that I think we will miss out on our first two choice signings because United will bottle it. And I said we'll end up with a 30-year-old striker. I said this in November. I said Ronaldo will leave, but we'll bottle the first two choices, and Man United will end up with a 30-year-old striker. I've been saying this all along as well. Like, it doesn't surprise me. Palestri greater than Langa. Smash the like button if you agree with that. I agree with that. And Weghorst, once all done, he's desperate to play on Saturday. I mean, the good thing about Weghorst is he's just absolutely desperate to play for United as well. And Alex B says, because those clubs have execs who care about success on our pitch, our board like to fake it, which is absolutely true as well. Our board have no interest about how successful we're on the pitch as well. SM says, time to move Martial on too. Well, we can't really now. Martial's our only striker as well. And Rabiot almost out of contract, get him on a loan for the rest of the season as well. Clear of Scott at least. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Rabiot, but I think he would do a better job than Scott McTominay. And how many players do United need in the summer? I'd say two midfielders, one experienced striker, one young striker, a right back, potentially a goalkeeper, and potentially a centre back. But we won't get all of them in the summer. Like, that's what I think we need, but I think we'd have to split that off across 2 summers as well. And United need players who want to play for the club, not just the money, which is one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Ten Hag adding a wage cap. This is one of the big reasons I'm a fan of this wage cap thing that Ten Hag's introducing, because Ten Hag wants players that are coming to United because they want to play here. They're not coming here for the money. He doesn't want this to be a nice retirement check. He wants people at Manchester United to be at Manchester United because they want to be here as well. Now, I do want to do a Manchester City kind of lineup prediction, talk about the game, because I do think, although things have been going well and although we've been going on a winning streak, we have had very easy opposition. And I do think this will be the big test, Manchester City. This will be the big test that I think Manchester United need. I think if we come out of Manchester City and Arsenal, having got 6 out of 6 points, I'd be shocked, but I'd be absolutely gassed as well. But this is obviously the news coming on as well. Weghorst is a defensive beast. He presses more in one game than CR7 does in a season. Technically, that is actually true. But as you can see the table here, if we win against City, we would go up to 38 points, which would put us in third, only 1 point behind City in second, and I think only 6 points behind Arsenal in first. And then if we beat Arsenal, we're catching ground on Arsenal. Now, I don't think we'll beat both City and Arsenal. I think we'll probably get 1 win and 1 loss. I think we'll probably get 3 points out of 6. But this is a big test for United, because if we get battered by both of these teams above us, then yeah, we might be in a bit of a situation where you're like, all right, maybe this team isn't as good as we thought. Maybe this is a reality check. Maybe top 4 isn't actually as realistic as we may think. We know we're sitting in top 4, with 2 points clear of the game in hand. So I guess we could say we're sitting in top 4 somewhat comfortably at the moment. I don't think you can say comfortably, but it's not even halfway through the season. But we're in a decent position for top 4. And if we beat City and we beat Arsenal, I'm sitting there like, all right, that's it. We are getting the top 4. But if we don't beat City, if we don't beat Arsenal, then we might not get top 4, and we might be reality check of, okay, Ten Hag's doing a fantastic job, but look, the teams we have beaten were Wolves, Everton, West Ham, Bournemouth, Forest, all these bottom teams. This is a real test of where we're at. I think this game against City is really important, because I think it's a test that Manchester United need. It's a test of where we're at, but I do think we need this kind of test to be like, okay, are we as good as we think we are? Because I think we're playing really well at the moment, and I can't fault us. But Man City and Arsenal were probably the 2 most informed teams in the world. And look, let's say we lose to City or we lose to Arsenal, but we give them a game and sometimes we feel unlucky that we've lost. That's absolutely fine. We could lose to City and we could lose to Arsenal, although it'd be disappointing that we lose. If we could lose those games, but we actually feel like we did enough to win those games and we're unlucky, then I'd be annoyed, but I'd be like, you know what? Like, we are at a decent level. But if we lose those games and get completely outplayed, that's when we got to sit there and just maybe worry a bit of, okay, we've had some easy games. Now, Ten Hag's doing a fantastic job, 100%. Ten Hag's absolutely doing a brilliant job. And I will never fault the job that Ten Hag has done. I think he's been absolutely brilliant since he's come into Manchester United. But what I will say about Ten Hag is he's doing a fantastic job, but no one expected him to get top 4. At the start of the season, when we lost 4-0 to Brentford, no one expected him to turn it around like this. Not one person expected this kind of turnaround from Ten Hag, especially when we lost to Brentford. So what Ten Hag's done is fantastic. Daniel says 305 people watching, so please subscribe to Alice Talks Football. It will be appreciated as well. And SM said, would rather City win the league than Arsenal one day. City will be busted for their cheating and all their trophy stripped. I have to say, I will say this now. I don't know if City match fix or cheat in game, but financially, City lie about their documents so they can do stuff for FFP in the past. I will say that now. City have definitely done some dodgy things with their documents to get away with FFP shit in the past. I know that's definitely, because I remember there was a story where there was a fake LinkedIn account with one of City's sponsorships. I think some of City's sponsorships and the so-called money they make from sponsorships is dodgy, because there's no way in hell Man City actually generate more money than United. You can chat crap all you want, but there's no way in hell Man City generate more money than United. No way at all. I will refuse to ever believe that Man City generate more money than United. And I do think City have been lying and doing a bit dodgy cheating around that. I really do. For me, pass the ball quickly, because Manchester City are a brilliant team, as we know. Yeah, we've got to be on it against Man City. And look, we got dominated by Man City last time, and I'm going to say a big part of that was because Scott McTominay is not up to the level to play against Manchester City, and now with Casemiro, and I don't think we'll get dominated as much. But we have to remember what City did to us last game. Although City have dropped off, although Man City are not looking as good at the moment, they did dominate us last time, and I felt quite confident going into the Etihad game, and they did dominate us. I'm glad that it's at Old Trafford, because I think we've made Old Trafford an absolute fortress at the moment. We haven't lost at Old Trafford in a while, and we'll obviously have Casemiro. And I think we'll be in a much better game a much better position going into the City game. But we don't want to get too, complacent. Man City could turn up and they could smash us in as well. City revenue is all cooked. No coincidence. Etihad is Abu Dhabi's corporation founded by Sheikh Mansour's brother. Yeah, it's all a bit dodgy going on at Man City as well. Big game. Martinez, Varane, Shaw, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony, Garnacho, Rashford. I'm keeping the players with the right mind, fast football and goals. I remind my team. Yeah, so I get into my team, people. Let me get into my team. So if we go over to chosen11.com, I'll show you my predicted team, and then I'll show you the team I will play. So this is what I believe Ten Hag will do. I'm 99%. I'm literally 100% sure this will be the lineup, guys. I think Dalot will play, even though I think I'd personally play Wan-Bissaka. I think Dalot was a precaution. I think Dalot will play. Of course, it will be Varane and I don't think Varane and Martinez have actually played together since the World Cup. One sec. I don't think they have. Luke Shaw will go in at left back, 100%. DM is obviously Casemiro and Eriksen and Bruno. think the midfield three, the good thing is Bruno will have a nice rest, so Bruno will be energetic and firing to go. Rashford scored 2 goals as a sub, so Rashford's going to have even more confidence. So I think we'll see Rashford here on the left. I think we'll see Anthony on the right, and I think we'll see Martial up top, and I think Garnacho will come on as a sub, and I think we'll see Pellistri on the bench after that cameo. I'll tell you what will make me mad is if I see the bench on Saturday and Alanga's on it and Pellistri's not. Because how many times have we not even had Pellistri on the bench and Alanga's been on it? Not after that cameo. Pellistri better make the bench unless he's leaving on loan. I think if Pellistri doesn't make the bench, either Ten Hag's lost his mind or he's leaving on loan. But I think that will be the lineup versus City. It's basically the same lineup really as last time, but I think Casemiro for McTominay will make such a difference. Even though Man City pumped us last time we played them, I just think there'll be 1 or 2 changes that Casemiro will just make such a big difference as well. Such a big difference that I do think it will be a tight game. I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think we'll dominate them, but because we're at Old Trafford, because of the form we're in, because of Casemiro, I do think United might win this game 2-1. And it'll be a tight one. It will go either way. And I think whoever takes their chances. Someone says Malacia got to be in at left back. I think Luke Shaw's better personally, but I do like Malacia as well. And Alex is not sure Lissandro is totally match sharp or fit yet. Hopefully he's ready for the derby. Me too. I think Lissandro Martinez though is the type of guy that would always be up and ready for a derby. Like even though like Lissandro Martinez's match fitness, like no one really knows if he's 100% match fit or any of that. He just gives me the vibe of a type of guy that, you know, he's a warrior. He goes to war. Like, he battles on the pitch. When I see Lissandro Martinez, I look at a guy and I think, now this guy, no matter what, he will be down for the derby. Like, I think he'll be down for the derby, 100%. 100%. I think I have faith in Lissandro Martinez to. Oh, have I just lagged there? No, I haven't. To show up. People saying 2-2 draw, 3-2 United. Do let me know your score predictions for the derby down below. And Alex B says, I don't think Ten Hag rates Pellistri much, sadly. Baffling Alanga keeps getting minutes ahead of him. And yeah, that's the sad truth that I am worrying that's the case as well. Like, I think, you know, Pellistri is a baller. Like, there's a reason he gets picked for the World Cup when he was pretty much injured the whole start of the season because he's impressive for Uruguay. Like, he might not be a world-class player, but Pellistri has bags more potential than Alanga and has shown bags more in his career. Like Alanga's played more for United, but Pellistri's been on loan. Pellistri's played in the World Cup. I feel like maybe Ten Hag's forgotten that Pellistri does have a lot of experience from loans in the World Cup. Alanga's played a few games for United because he had to. You know, I feel like personally that is the case. Now, I do want to get into a few more stories before I end the live stream, people. I do want to cover a few more things. Keep smashing the likes if you have not already, and of course, subscribe down below. We're going over to Alice's favourite. You know where we're going to, Alice's favourite old One Football app here. And as you can see, there's a lot of stories going on as well. Manchester United obviously made the move for Weghorst. Weghorst to be available for the derby. United are looking at a highly rated centre-back, Juan Carlo. Lots of news coming out. We'll play Dean Henderson's banned from playing in the Carabao Cup semi-final because Ten Hag will not let him. So suck on that, Dean Henderson, because we want to beat Forest as well. We've got lots of news coming out that, you know, Tyler Blackett's gone to Wigan Athletic on loan. I was literally talking about it in my live stream the other day, but this was the one that worried me. And this isn't a loan. This is permanent exit could be on the cards for Pellistri. We're talking permanent exit. There is potential that Pellistri could just full on, like, permanently go because he's desperate for game time. And remember when he was at the World Cup, like, there was news that he might permanently leave United. And I think that would be a silly thing to do because I don't know if it'll ever be good enough for United or ever be United level. But I think with the way we're at right now, we're not brilliant at the moment. We're not playing, we're not brilliant at the moment in the sense of we're playing brilliant, but we're not brilliant in the sense of depth at the moment. Like United are not brilliant in terms of depth. You know, we've got a Langer coming off the bench, for example. You know, in 2 seasons' time, Ten Hag might have all the players he wants in, and a young player like Pellistri is not really going to get a chance to break into the United squad because we're going to have 2 more strikers at the club, and Sancho is going to be back, and Anthony will be at his best, and Rashford will be at his best, where Pellistri, if he's not established himself, won't have a chance to establish himself. Pellistri's in a time where he's at United, where the squad's really thin, that Langer gets a lot of minutes. You know, he's in a very lucky situation that he's here one of the years where we're having to use the youth because of lack of depth. And if I was Pellistri, I'd say, well, look, if I'm ever going to make it at United, realistically, I go and somewhere have a really good loan, but that would have to be in the Premier League, and it doesn't seem that Premier League clubs are really looking for him on loan. Or I stay at Man United and I go, you know what, if Alanga can get a few minutes, I can, and if I prove myself in these minutes, I could play more and more like Garnacho. And if I'm Palestri, I'm looking at Garnacho and saying, I want to do what Garnacho did this year. And if I don't, I'll just get a permanent loan in the summer. I can wait. Like, if that's what I would personally do if I was Facundo Palestri, but I don't think he will. And I think it's sad that he might leave as well. Hoping we just let him go on loan. I'm hoping we let him go on loan. When will Sancho return? Well, let's get into the Sancho news, because that is a good question, because a lot of people are unsure on Jadon Sancho when he will return and all that. No Delo and Martial in training, which could be worrying ahead of the derby, just in that there. But the news on Sancho last was, and I'm going to try and find it, because he's not back in full training. Like, there's not been any news on Sancho for a while. Not been any news. This is what Ten Hag said on January 6th about Sancho. He says, I have to show patience with Sancho. Although I don't have patience, we have a lack of opportunities in the frontline players who are available and capable to contribute in the Premier League and the high standards of football. Ten Hag is saying he's basically got to be patient with Sancho, because if Sancho comes back, he wants him to be at his best. He wants, a firing and informed Jadon Sancho 100%. So Ten Hag's going to sit there and he's going to be careful with Jadon Sancho in that sense. But I think Ten Hag is saying he wants Sancho back too, because he's not got many options. I do get the sense that maybe Ten Hag could be getting a bit frustrated that Sancho's been out for so long, in the sense of he wants to use him. He made a comment that, if you're at Man United, you've got to deal with the mental side of it, which I don't know if it's a dig at Sancho or not, but I think Ten Hag's very smart in dealing with the Sancho situation, where he's like, although I want Sancho back ASAP, I'd rather have Sancho back when he's at his best and I know he's going to play well than if he's iffy. And while Ten Hag wants Sancho back, he wants him to hurry up and get back. Ten Hag knows he cannot rush this, because there's obviously serious shit going on with Sancho. There's mental problems. He needs to get back in the swing of things. You cannot rush a player back, because he wants to get that confidence back. So he wants Sancho to be playing if he's ready to play, if he's in the mindset to play, if he's in the form to play as well. And I think that Sancho will be coming back in the coming weeks. I think that surely he'll be slowly on his way back. I would like him to I think he would probably come back in for the Reading game. I think Ten Hag would be clever and use him in the Reading game, because if you're playing Reading, it's a weaker opposition, and I could see maybe Sancho play on the right wing versus Reading, give Anthony a rest, Garnacho on the left, potentially Rashford or Weghorst up top, and change it up. I think that if I was Ten Hag, we've got Reading coming up in a couple of weeks, I would probably use Sancho then. I don't think he'll be involved in the Manchester derby. I don't even think he'll be on the bench. I think he's not really even been spotted in team training much. I think he's still working his way up. You've almost got to treat this Sancho thing like an injury. I feel like, because player mental health is such a new kind of thing in football that's been getting attention, and we don't really know what's going on with Sancho. We've almost got to treat this as an injury. If he's been out a couple months, now he's coming back to training. He can't just go back in the squad straight away after coming back to training. He was out of Man United training for 3 months. He's only just come back. It's about kind of patience and working it through with Sancho, which is a shame, because I do want Sancho back quick, but I think you've got to be careful. But I always said, look what Ten Hag's done with Marcus Rashford. And that's what I'm going to say to you guys watching. Look at the brilliant stuff that Ten Hag has done with Marcus Rashford so far. Look at the impact Ten Hag's kind of had on Marcus Rashford so far, and how well Rashford is playing. My thought process and my thoughts right now is Ten Hag's having this brilliant impact on Marcus Rashford. Rashford's playing brilliantly. Sancho, again, like Rashford 2 seasons ago, was playing absolutely fantastic. I know it wasn't in the Premier League, it was in the Bundesliga. And I do sit here and go, I'm hoping and I think that Ten Hag will be able to have that impact that he's had on Rashford, on hopefully Sancho. Hopefully Sancho as well. Did Sancho lose 2 family members recently? I'm not sure. I know he's had family issues, but I couldn't tell you what they are. Guys, we're only 15 likes away from 200 likes, so please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. Ten Hag also said Jadon Sancho was one. When he is fit, he will contribute, and then we will have an extra option, so we have more chance of winning a game. But Ten Hag did add as well that Sancho's not 100% fit because he's not there mentally. And Ten Hag also said this on Sancho: I'd like Sancho back as soon as possible, but some processes you can't force, and this is one of them. You have to show patience. We have hurdles, but I think he's in a good direction. So that's really what Ten Hag said on Sancho. He would like Sancho back as soon as possible, but he knows this is a mental health situation. He knows he's not mentally and physically fit to play for United at the moment, so he's got to be careful. He can't rush him back. It will make the problem worse. That's very much what Ten Hag is doing with Jadon Sancho as well. Do you ever wonder if Jadon Sancho wasn't super fit this season? He didn't look fit early in the season. You make a good point there. I thought he looked all right in pre-season and in that Liverpool game, but he doesn't. Yeah, I get your point. Like, he didn't come out firing like the others. Like, I think that maybe there is a slight fitness issue there. I did think he was quite good in pre-season, but I guess that's pre-season, so not everyone's fit anyway, and you're playing against people that aren't fit. So there could be the potential that maybe he just didn't get up to full fitness in pre-season. There were some issues, some distractions. He couldn't get up to full fitness, and maybe he felt that versus Chelsea, because the last game he played was versus Chelsea, and that's probably the worst he's played. And Ten Hag took him off, and Ten Hag was not happy with him. And maybe I think what's happened is Ten Hag spoke to Sancho after Chelsea. Probably went, "What was that? I know what you can do. That's nowhere near your best." Probably spoke to Jadon Sancho after the Chelsea game, after what he'd seen and it being very disappointing. And Ten Hag maybe sort of came to the conclusion of like, okay, this Sancho's not right. And maybe Sancho said to Ten Hag, he's not right. He's having troubles with a few things. Like, that's my kind of conclusion on it. That I think after Chelsea, Ten Hag and Sancho had a chat, realised there was more to it, realised he wasn't maybe physically fit, and maybe there was some mental stuff. He wasn't quite mentally there. And for me, I think that's what maybe triggered Ten Hag to go, right, you know what, this Jadon Sancho situation, this doesn't look good. This needs sorting with. La-di-la-di-la. We are 100% with you, Jadon. Come back 100%. 100%. I'd rather Jadon Sancho come back in a month and come back 100% of firing than come back versus Man City and come back 60%. 100%. Hopefully he'll be all right as well. Steve McLaren, I like giving players refresh in the mind and rejuvenate players because mindset's such a big thing. I think Rashford's celebration where he points to his mind means something about mindset, because Rashford's really struggled last season, and he said a big part of it was because of his mindset. He wasn't in the best mindset. The way Rashford kind of pointed to his mind emphasise the point of mindset and how it affects form. I do sometimes sit there and think, okay, maybe with this, Rashford celebration pointing to his mind, and we know that Rashford did not have a good mindset last season. One of the reasons Rashford was potentially so poor last season because he wasn't in the right mindset. I do sit there and think, this is maybe what he's referring to Sancho. Is mindset's so important in football. If you're not happy, if you're not in the best mindset, you're not going to perform as well on the pitch. And I think, if Sancho can get to fully fit, and if Sancho can sort his mindset out, then Jadon Sancho will come back to his best. And I said this about Sancho. I highly rate Jadon Sancho. I think Jadon Sancho is a fantastic player. I've seen what he's done in the Bundesliga. We saw moments of it under Rangnick for like a month, where he had a solid month. When Jadon Sancho was good, he's good. Even in pre-season, he was good. Even against Liverpool, he's good. We've seen moments where Jadon Sancho's put like an 8 out of 10 performance and been really good. I mean, he's lacked the consistency. And Rashford was really good, and then he was really poor, and he said there was some mental block, and then Ten Hag solved that mental block, and he got his confidence back, and he was being coached, and Rashford's like one of the best players in the world right now. Like, Rashford's got 21 goal contributions already this season. My belief is the same will happen to Jadon Sancho. My general belief is the same will happen to Sancho. He might be rusty the few games he's back and cut him some slack. He's not been back. He's not been playing for a while. But I do think end of season 2023, Sancho will start firing. I think next season is when we Sancho fully. I think he's been poor last season. He's not been up to it this season. But I think he's going to end the season well. And I think Ten Hag is the guy that will get the best out of Sancho, 100 million% as well. Keep smashing the likes, people, as well. 75 million wasted. We give you time. I think we have to give him time because we spent 75 million on him because of how good he was at Dortmund. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that at United. But I know there's a big difference between the Bundesliga and the Prem. But I think one thing I always give Sancho, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but Sancho came to United at the worst possible time. Sancho had just come off the back of loads of racist abuse at the Euros, was just not in a good, confident place anyway because of the abuse he suffered at the Euros. And then Ollie doesn't start picking him right away. He's like, I've gone to United. I've been training well, but I've not even been picked by Ollie. So Sancho's probably thinking, what's going on? I've joined United, not been picked by Ollie. And he barely got picked by Ollie, and he was coming in as a sub where he didn't have enough time to make an impact. And then Carrick came in. Sancho had 2 solid games under Carrick. Carrick left. Rangnick came in. Bear in mind, the football we were playing under Ollie and Carrick wasn't sustainable attacking football. It wasn't the football. Jadon Sancho was playing attacking, sustainable, fluid football at Dortmund, linking up with Haaland, who's an intelligent player. And he goes to United, and Ollie doesn't even have tactics. Ollie's like, pass it to Bruno, and Bruno pass it to Rashi and try and get a goal. Or pass it to Ronaldo and try and get a goal. I'm pretty sure Ollie didn't have tactics. So Sancho gets to United, who don't have a clear style of play or tactics under Ollie. Ollie doesn't pick him. Carrick was doing an all right job, but that was 2 games. Then Rangnick comes in. Starts playing well under Rangnick because it wasn't too bad under Rangnick to begin with. And then the whole dressing room talks out mentality came in. There was big dressing room fights. There was loads going on behind the scenes. And basically everyone was shit last season but Ronaldo and De Gea because loads went on behind the scenes. And Fred was all right, actually. Fred was all right. Everyone else was shit but Ronaldo and De Gea last season, and Fred was all right because there was stuff going on behind the scenes where some of our best players like Bruno, who'd been very good for United for 2 years, became shit. Rashford became shit. Sancho just became shit. And I think you know, a lot of the players that have been very good this season for us, even Varane wasn't that good last season, and Varane's been fantastic this season. Dalot, you know, was okay last season. Luke Shaw was shit last season, but the season before that was brilliant, and this season he's brilliant. A lot of the players that have been brilliant the season before last season are now brilliant again this season. And Sancho was brilliant at Dortmund the season before last season, and I think just got brought down with the United mess. And I think this season, when United get better, Sancho will be part of that. I think we're getting better, players are getting better, Ten Hag's improving players. I believe Sancho will be a part of that improvement. And although it's really frustrating, I sit here as a United fan a little bit frustrated that we're hearing, you know, that basically Ten Hag's got no options, but he can't rush Sancho back because he's managing Sancho well, but he desperately needs Sancho. I do sit here with the board frustrated that they've not tried to do a bit more for Ten Hag because they're aware of the Sancho situation and the money we've lost in Ronaldo and that how thin the squad is, but they haven't. And I will say this, I think next season we'll have Sancho back to his best, and I think we'll have Sancho and Antony on the right wing as good options. You've also got to take into account Palestri and Amad Diallo, two good youngsters that can play on the right wing. Next season, we'll have Rashford and Garnacho as left wing options, and we'll probably have Martial, and Weghorst would have finished his loan. But Man United will sign a striker in the summer, okay? I know we're being told that basically with new ownership or because of the Glazers, Ten Hag will only be able to get one key summer signing. We will get a new striker in the summer, 100%. Now, I don't know if we'll get an expensive striker. I think that United will go for a cheap option in the summer if the Glazers are still here. And if new owners are here, hopefully we can rejuvenate the money. But I do think the front three next season, going into next season, I think will be fine. My worry for next season will be the midfield because I look at our midfield now and I go, well, we've got a game every 3 days. Man United have a game every 3 days. McTominay looked average against the League One Charlton side. So basically, we've got Fred, Casemiro and Eriksen, 3 players to rotate over 2 positions, a game every 3 days. If one of them gets injured, then 2 of them have to play every week. And if Casemiro gets injured, we're fucked. If Casemiro gets injured, and it's a long injury, our season's over because Donny's out. McTominay cannot play DM, so we got no depth anyway. But when McTominay plays DM, he struggled versus Charlton. McTominay struggling. I do think attack is now the least of my worries. Now, once Sancho gets back and now Weghorst is coming in, I do think we need a proper striker. I know we're not going to get one. Attack is least of my worries. This season, I'm worried about midfield. And next season, I'm worried about midfield. Because the reports coming out by James Ducker is even if we get new owners, we might not be able to afford a midfielder and just get a striker, which will be priority over midfielder because we won't have one. Because of the debt the Glazers have put us in. Now, hopefully, new ownership will sort all of that out. And I do think if we get new owners, that they will be able to buy Ten Hag what he wants. But I think if the Glazers stay, and if we don't get that full sale done, or the Glazers delay the sale of United, I think that Ten Hag's getting very little in the summer. And that worries me. That worries me. I'm just in a super chat, so I do want to go up to that super chat. Just a sec. I must have missed it somehow. But thank you very much for the super chat. You're really doing a good job, Alice. I like your show. You have many good opinions about things. Looking forward to the big game on Saturday. Will you do a watch along? I will be doing a watch along. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really do appreciate the support on the channel, people. If you are new, please do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more. So please do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Of course, share the video, bish, bash, bosh, on all of that as well. And Wout Weghorst had a meeting today. Yeah, Wout Weghorst is in Manchester. He's on his way to Carrington as well. Martial isn't the solution out of all the strikers. He's definitely definitely need a striker. Exactly. Martial's not consistent. You don't know what you're going to get with him, and he's got a poor injury record. So although I like Martial, he's not the solution to Manchester United's striker problems. It's absolutely spot on. I think, I don't mind Martial as a backup striker. I like Martial. I think he can be good. I've always believed that there's a good player in Martial, but he's not going to solve the current issues that United have 100% as well. But look, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream. It's been a long live stream to make up for the lack of live stream yesterday. So I do want to thank everybody that watched today's video. Please do smash that like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. Yash says, Casemiro is the heart of our team. He is that link between our defence and attack. He's an absolute beast, isn't he? And I want to say thank you everyone that tuned into today's live show. Please smash that like button on the way out. Of course, subscribe down below. There's a new video tomorrow. I'm going to do a video on Dubai and the United ownership situation. I'm going to get some details and some information on the ownership and what you need to know, because everyone always does. Whenever I do a live stream, everyone's like, hey, Alice, what's the news on the takeover? What's the news on the takeover? So if you want to know everything regarding the takeover, which isn't nothing groundbreaking, but it's just an update on where we're at and what could the options be, there will be a video on that, I'm sure, tomorrow, unless some interesting news comes out, and then I'll delay that video a day. Then I will be back live tomorrow evening for Manchester United City preview, and then obviously Saturday a watch along to Man United versus Man City. So smash a like, subscribe for that. Loads of content to come on the channel as well. As said, smash a like if you want Jadon Sancho back on firing as well. Smash a like if you want Glazers out. And thank you for watching, people. See you next time, and bye.